This program is proudly brought to you by Daytech PNG Limited and Telecom Limited.
Good night, Papua New Guinea, and welcome to another episode of Infocus. Joining us for this session of Infocus, we have Mr. Chase Covell, CEO of the PNG Manufacturers Council and Vice President of the PNG Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Scovell, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here tonight, Mal.
Firstly, Mr. Scovell, can you tell us what is the core function and role of the PNG Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the PNG Manufacturing Council?
Most certainly. So the PNG Chamber of Commerce and Industry is the peak body of our peak bodies. So later this evening we'll have the President of the Port Moresby Chamber, Rio Fiocco. We have 19 vibrant chambers of commerce throughout PNG that are generally in all of the provinces. So we have the Port Moresby Chamber, you're hearing from the Lae Chamber. We have a CPIC Chamber, a Porgera Chamber, New Ireland, New Britain, West New Britain. So we have, within that peak body, we meet regularly online and talk about the issues, and the role of the PNG Chamber is to, I guess, bring all of those views together and provide a voice for all of those businesses through to government and certainly our partners. So it might be the World Bank or the IMF or the ADB and those sorts of things. So that's the role there, is to provide that voice. And at that PNG Chamber level, though, it really is, we rely heavily on the work. The bulk of the work and the advocacy is done at the provincial level within, say, the Port Moresby Chamber or the Lae Chamber or the Porgera Chamber, because that's where the businesses are. And that's what's important to understand, is that each chamber is made up of its membership of several hundred of the businesses in each area that are actually doing business within that boundary. So they're at the coalface, they're the ones that are employing people, making the investments, facing the challenges. So it's really important that they're the people that are getting to participate in informed dialogue and discussion. The Manufacturers Council is pretty much the same, but we're a single body with a national footprint, whereas the Chambers of Commerce represent anybody in any sector of business. The Manufacturers Council looks after people in manufacturing and downstream processing. We provide a voice for those to government. We also have a role in promoting our sector and our industry, protecting and looking after PNG Made, which is a well-known brand, but it's a challenge to protect that and stop the abuse of that logo. So that's the sort of work that we do, and it's certainly a busy job, as we know. We're unfortunately faced with many challenges these days.
What has been some of the key milestone achievements for both organisations so far?
Over time, I guess one of the key things is really providing that in real input. So there's many an occasion. We have a situation at the moment where the government's put forward a draft manufacturing policy. Now the ambition is certainly good to grow and to grow manufacturing and downstream processing, diversify our economy. But if the policy was put into place and implemented as it was written, it would kill investment and essentially stop pretty much all manufacturing activity. So the biggest successes that the chambers have is when you look at a number of acts that we have in place today. We've had an important role in shaping those bills to make sure that the consequences of that legislation will meet its intention, be it to ensure product and food safety, to ensure that citizens' money and their privacy is protected by information or money that financial institutions hold, and the like. So that's really the number one thing that we do. I think that other thing is really providing that voice and I guess alleviating some of those concerns and venting the frustrations from foreign currency issues. We continue to be faced with the shortage. We've had periods where it can take upwards of 6 to 12 months to get work permits and visas for skilled personnel. Imagine if you've got a big project happening and you need a team of specialised tradespeople to come in for that part of the project, and all of a sudden it takes 6 or 9 months for them to come in. That whole project has been delayed. costs lots and lots of money and has big consequences. And that's the role that we often come to the fore to do.
What has been some of the main challenges? I would imagine the cost of doing business has been a teething challenge over some years. How is your organization looking to work around those challenges?
The inflation, the increased cost of doing business is certainly a challenge and a problem for everybody. And it's one of those things that we often say, what's felt by the consumer and the families at home is the same thing that's being felt by the businesses. And they could all do more and be better if we weren't hit and operating in such challenging times. But really, inflation, we have some inflation that we can't help, things like the conflict, Russia's illegal incursion of Ukraine that's continued now for some year. This new conflict that's arisen in the Middle East, all of these things put pressure on global supply chains, which increase the costs. In a place like PNG where, shipping and services and transport infrastructure is already not up to par, it means that businesses have to hold bigger inventories. That costs money. Coupled with the foreign currency shortage, getting access to the foreign currency to get that bigger inventory is a problem. But I would say outside of that, it's really the domestic issues that we face. Things like this manufacturing policy, they create tremendous uncertainty in the business environment. The local content, the national content policy, again, there's some parts that is quite good, and the Manufacturers Council is a key proponent of pushing for local content and national content. The problem is that we don't have good regulatory practices anymore. The government's broken, the bureaucracy's broken. Their idea of consultation is to actually formulate what they call a draft policy, but it's really a final policy. It's more like a lecture than a consultation. They're going to tell us what's coming. They might hear a few things, and it's a real challenge getting them to go back and I guess make some amendments. And it also takes a long time. We read with joy recently that the Minister for Labour, the new Minister for Labour, is going to be bringing in and finalising things like the Occupational Health and Safety Bill and the Workers' Compensation Bill. The Minister for Agriculture, they're finally trying to get the draft biosecurity bill up. These things have been bills for 8, 9, 10 years. We've had an urgent need to amend our legislation because it's archaic, and it's taken nearly a decade to do. So for a decade, we've been operating inefficiently and constrained. So that's the real challenge. It shouldn't take that long to make sure our laws are responsive and fit for purpose. So that really is the biggest challenge, and it's all completely avoidable if everybody went to work and did what they were supposed to do that day.
Now, we are cognizant of the fact that we have an upcoming Innovation 2023 conference that's scheduled to happen this month. Before we get into that, can you tell us how critical innovation is in terms of economic development?
Innovation is key because it's about finding efficiencies and better ways to do things, filling gaps, creating wealth in areas where people thought there wasn't wealth to be created. And all of that is vital. But even for areas, and a part of this Innovation Summit we're going to talk about shortly is these Innovation Awards. And you have a look, we had many entrants, more than half of them were for the SME sector. But they're not all innovation in the way that somebody might think. It's not all about, some ICT-related software or hardware solution bringing science and technology. Some of them are actually just really innovative ways to promote, a savings culture in Papua New Guinea, or to better address, information and document management. They've been a long-faced challenge, but they're an innovative way or an idea to address some of these problems, and that's why it's really, really key. Otherwise, we become stagnant, we fall behind.
Can you give us a background on the Innovation 2023 conference itself?
Yeah, this is the second conference we're having, and it's really it was something that the Port Moresby Chamber and Business Advantage, who have had a long and successful history now built up in PNG with their investment conferences and summits. But we acknowledge that there was a real need to highlight the champions that are in innovation, but also provide an opportunity to expose Papua New Guinean businesses to some innovation and success stories in innovative practices and trends globally. Again, we're really on the cusp. We can talk at length about all the problems we have in Papua New Guinea, but the reality is we have a population, we've got natural resources, we've got the climate, we've got all of these things to thrive. So, being able to target people who are innovative and find those champions will really help accelerate us starting to achieve some of those goals and aspirations. And that's what the Innovation Conference was about. It was looking at that niche. We've got lots of seminars and investment and conferences around investment or business or how to do business, but there wasn't really anything that highlighted innovation, which is something that we felt passionately about. And as I said, I think there's a lot of benefit from having a platform to give a voice and champion and share the success of existing innovators, but also provide an opportunity to bring in some world expertise and leaders around things that are innovative in doing business and how it can be applied here locally.
Mr. Scoville, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
We now take a quick break and join us on the other side for more discussions. Welcome back. You're watching In Focus. Joining us in the studio for this session, we have Mr. Rio Fioko, President of the Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Rio, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Firstly, Rio, can you tell us what is the core mandate and function of the Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry?
Right. Well, we represent the business houses mainly here in the nation's capital. We have some 250 to 300 members, ranging from the big companies, the big oil and gas companies, mining companies, right through to many SMEs. And we're here to represent their interest, and mainly in terms of dealing with the government and presenting what our members' concerns are to the government and the National Capital District.
What has been some of the key achievements for the organisation so far?
Well, we're pleased that we've got regular dialogue, and it's great that the national government does interface with our members through the chamber, and they listen to what we have to say and hear our concerns. They don't always follow what we want them to do, but at least we have an audience with them, and likewise with the National Capital District, where we have a good audience with the City Manager, Ravu Frank, and also the Governor, Powers Parkov.
From the Chamber's perspective, what has been some teething challenges that has confronted the Chamber over the years?
Well, the ongoing issue for most of our members at this moment is still the ongoing foreign exchange limitations in the market. But we're pleased that with our representations, the government through the central bank is putting in 100 million kina a month, and sometimes they put in a bit extra like they did just the other week. And that's helping to clear a lot of the backlog. So to enable our members, including, as I said, SMEs, to buy things from overseas that they need to import, and then they can sell here locally, whether it's from mobile phones through to second-hand clothing or whatever.
Okay. What are some of the future plans for the PMCCI and that the Chamber is intending to embark on in the coming years?
Well, we'll continue our main focus, which is to have dialogue with the government and try and influence government policy. We don't want to see any more new taxes in the upcoming budget. Businesses are still recovering from the 3 years of COVID and the tough times. But there are a lot of challenges ahead. We're very pleased to see that the Edavu Power project is about to commission fully to provide 54 megawatts of power to the city. So we're hoping that we'll have a regular power supply and we won't have the constant blackouts. But we also need to see regular water, we need the roads to be fixed, etc., etc. And of course, we're also pleased to see that Air Niugini is going to be refleeting with the Airbus A220 aircraft, which should be arriving in 2025, we hope, or possibly even earlier. And that will help Air Niugini to transport people where they want to go, when they should be leaving.
As we touched earlier on with the interview with Mr. Scoville, PNG is about to host the Innovation 2023 conference, which is scheduled to occur this month. Can you give us a background of the key speakers that will be speaking in the event?
Yes, we're very pleased to bring in 4 international speakers. One is Dr. Jane Thomason, who's a futurist based in Dubai. And she'll be talking about things like the metaverse and artificial intelligence and how that is impacting on businesses throughout the world, and of course how that's going to impact on PNG. We're also bringing in Matt Dry, who's a partner with KPMG in Australia, and he'll talk about cyber security and forensic technology. Cyber threats are a threat to businesses all throughout the world, but it's happening here in PNG where we're getting cyber attacks from overseas. We've got Ted Garner, who's the Chief Strategy Officer for Konica Minolta. They'll be talking about how to create an innovation culture. They're also talking about things like 3D printing and where the technology is heading. And lastly, we bring in Craig Kirkland, who's the Director for the Pacific on MasterCard, who, as you would know, MasterCard provide card payments, and they'll talk about how the latest innovation technology is affecting international card payments.
So what opportunities will this conference provide for Papua New Guinea and Port Moresby specifically?
All right. The other major partner I forgot to mention is we've got Dr. Steven Mato from the Department of Information and Communication Technology. And he'll be talking about what is the government doing about e-commerce, cloud services, and how is the government transforming from an old paper-based system to converting so that you'll be able to pay like we can with Lands Department now through their e-Lands system. You can pay your land rent online. You don't have to go to the Lands Department. You don't have to front up and get a bank cheque organised. You can do all this now from the comfort of your office or home online. And this is, and there's other departments that are moving that way too, including the ICA in terms of obtaining visas and things. You can do all of that online now, which is just fantastic.
Again, to the question, what opportunities will this provide for PNG?
All right, we're also featuring sessions on some of the entrepreneurs that we have here. For example, Mr. Isaac Gypsy, who runs a company called Odesh, which is a bit like the Uber services, taxi services. Priscilla Kevin, who's a well-known ICT representative in the business sector. Dominic Sikakau, who's the CEO for the Credit Guarantee Corporation. George Vigalia, the CEO for Agritech Organics. These are small businesses that are doing innovative business transactions, and this is how other small SMEs can come along and listen and learn about what are the opportunities out there. How can a Papua New Guinean who's making billums or handicrafts, how can they sell to someone in Germany? There's a market for our wonderful paintings, artworks, billums, as I said, carvings, etc. But how can you connect from the local manufacturers here or the SMEs, businesses, to the world market?
Rio, thank you. We now go for a quick break. Join us on the other side for more discussions. Welcome back. You're watching In Focus. Still in the studio with me, we have Mr. Rio Fioko, President for the Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Now, Rio, what are the expected outcomes from this Innovation PNG 2023 conference?
Well, we're expecting everyone from CEOs, CFOs, CIOs, Chief Information Officers, right through to SMEs who attend the conference. Everyone will learn quite a lot. There'll be a special session on how to develop an innovation culture in your organisation, how to transform your organisation so that you're match fit for the new world that's out there. The metaverse, the likes of Google, and how people innovate and how people transact these days through Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., etc. So there'll be a lot to be learnt.
Finally, how can the business community who would like to participate register for this event?
Right, well, you can go online, assuming you have internet connectivity, and register at innovationpng.com, or you can call our Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce office, call in at, we're in the CHM Plaza building in Gordons, and you can do your registration there and make the payment at our office.
Now finally, what is your concluding remarks you'd like to make for Papua New Guinean commerce and industry sector?
Well, these are exciting times. We've got Papua LNG project, which is in the final stages of FEED, and we're hoping that will go into approval and construction next year. We're very hopeful that Porgera will reopen in the near future. And of course, we're also hoping that Wafi Golpu will get approval next year. So there's a lot of big, exciting projects, as well as, of course, opportunities for agriculture, manufacturing, etc. So these are exciting times for everyone.
Mr. Rio Fioko, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, viewers, that ends this episode of In Focus. Do join us again next week, Monday, on our regular time slot of 7 p.m. Till then, good night.
This program was proudly brought to you by Daytech PNG Limited and Telecom Limited.